Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to go back to 2006 and the year of music in 2006. Recently there have been people reminiscing about 2016. You would have seen a lot of that stuff going around TikTok, different socials, that being 10 years ago from today, which is, as of this recording now, 2026. So I thought I'd jump back an extra 10 years and show you what I was listening to back then. In 2006, I was 20 and I was just working a normal full-time job at a department store, and this was before streaming had come in, so that'd be about 3 or 4 years away, maybe a bit longer than that. CDs were the main format before the vinyl revival came in, and iTunes and the iTunes store, and paying, I think it was like 99 cents a track and like $16.99 per album, that became a platform for a little while for Apple. So those were sort of the main ways that people were obtaining music from a consumer point of view. Vinyl sort of was always there, but it never became as big as it became until a bit later on. So that's sort of the landscape of music and the music industry at the time, certainly in terms of how people were purchasing it. So I had probably more disposable income than I have right now. So I used to buy quite a lot. And it was a fairly interesting year. So without further ado, I'm just going to go through. I've got a pile here of CDs, and I have one record here as well. So I'm not going to count them down, but basically it is in order of like what I really liked to like right at the end will be like the one that I go back to the most from that year. So I'm just going to start. And I'm gonna come in with a pretty hot take to start with. Sneaky Sound System. Okay, this is the first Sneaky Sound System album from 2006. Electro pop group from Australia. These guys got traction so quickly with their brand of electro pop, disco inspired tunes, just with like a big pop inflection. It's got the tracks UFO. I saw a UFO, but nobody believed me. 16, I got lots of pictures in my... Anyway, you get it. If you know what those songs are, they still get radio rotation now. The second album is very good as well. And then I think there was a third that came out, and there was quite a while between, I think them maybe going on a hiatus / breakup, to sort of going back and performing live. But this was a really good album. I had this, and I also at the time ripped this to my iPod Classic 160 GB so that I could take it with me. At the time, yeah, the iPod Classic was pretty cool because you didn't have to like change CDs over and stuff like that. So you could rip the CDs to your hard drive using the iTunes app, and then you put it on your iPod Classic. Away you go. Baller. The next one is one of my favourite bands, as a lot of people will be aware of, and this is the Pearl Jam self-titled release from 2006. Now, around this time, I think you could say that they had gone past their initial big mainstream period with 10 Vitalogy and Versus, sort of being in that period of time. They then went to what I consider their second period, which is kind of the experimental period. So you probably lump Vitalogy in there, sort of starting with that. And then No Code, which was like a departure in sort of style for them. They then sort of went a bit more in the middle with Yield, and then Binaural came out, and that was also pretty experimental too for them. So that's bringing us to about the year 2000. So then comes Riot Act. Again, pretty experimental, and had some tracks on it that were considered pretty political, dealing with the Bush administration at the time. And I quite like that album too. So then they took a little while to come back with an album, and this one is probably one of the most straight ahead albums for them. It's got Life Wasted, Worldwide Suicide, Severed Hands, Unemployable is a great song, Come Back, and Inside Job. It's pretty front loaded, but like about 80% of this album is pretty good, and I would consider to be staples in their catalogue. I know that's a big ask considering there's songs like, you know, Jeremy and Even Flow and Rearview Mirror and things like that. But I still will go into bat for this album. As much as people might say it's a little underwhelming, I actually thought that was pretty good. I listened to this quite a lot when it came out, and I go back to it every now and then too, because it's quite solid. Okay, next was a indie band that were about to break through around this time, Grizzly Bear, and this is Yellow House. If you haven't heard this and you're a fan of like indie acoustic stuff along the veins of maybe Iron and Wine or Fleet Foxes, and you haven't heard of Grizzly Bear, I doubt that that's the case. You probably know about Grizzly Bear if you know about Iron and Wine and Decemberists and things like that. But if you haven't heard it, this is a really good album. The acoustic guitars and how they're recorded on this are absolutely brilliant. It is just a real sit down, like, let it wash over you sort of thing. I really liked it. The follow-up to this is even better, and I can't even pronounce the name of it. I think it's called Vegetamist, or something like that. I butchered it, but that's a really good album as well. That's Grizzly Bear. Next, we've got a legacy. This guy is a legacy to his own. Tom Waits. Now, Tom Waits was pretty prolific around the early 2000s. He released like a couple of albums back to back. But he also put this one out, which is a triple album called Brawlers, Ballers and Bastards. And it came, if you get the vinyl edition of this, I think it's stupidly expensive, but I've got the CD of it, because I was buying CDs basically back then. But you've got basically the booklet here. There's your lyrics. And then they come kind of in, looks like sort of like a newspaper, sort of facsimile of a newspaper with each sleeve for its discs. But he was just doing whatever he wanted to do. Like, he was able to forge a path of his own from sort of the years between 73 and I want to say maybe 1980, 81, 82. He was considered like kind of a straight singer-songwriter sort of guy that was making really introspective, reflective songs with lyrics. And then when he put out Swordfish Trombones, it all changed after that, because he'd sort of started to go into more atonal sounding music, where the instrumentation became more at the forefront of what he was doing. And he noticed a lot of things in non-traditional percussion instruments that were put into his albums that are really interesting and serve as a backdrop to his musings and examination of like modern life. And quite often it sounded like sort of carny music, some of it. And some of that's in here too. And there's like real dirty blues in here, there's ballads, there's a bit of everything in this as well. Tom Waits. Black Keys. Magic Potion. So this is about the sweet spot for them. 2002 to about 2013 to El Camino. is kind of the sweet spot for them. They were pretty religiously putting out stuff every sort of other year, so every 2 years they were putting one out, and I listened to this quite a lot. This was quite souped up for them in terms of the production and recording fidelity, and it's really, really good. I don't know if this is the first one that they did with Danger Mouse producing, but yeah, it's great. Your Touch is on it. Give Your Heart Away. Goodbye, Babylon. It's classic garage rock from that era. White Stripes. If you like them, you'll like this. Another pretty hot take and pretty polarizing band, but Architecture by the Mars Volta. Now, yeah, very, 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 well, don't want to say obnoxious, but they were a very, very, very polarizing band for a lot of people. A lot of people sort of don't really like prog. They don't like the idea of things being too idiosyncratic and hard to fathom because of like time changes and tempo, you know, key changes, tempo changes, things like that. But this isn't their best album by any stretch. I think Francis the Mute is, but I mean this album, Vicarious Atonement on that, Mecca Penitentia, Day of the Baphomet. I mean, it's got some great prog rock on this. And if you're interested in that sort of stuff and you like that sort of guitar playing, I definitely recommend it. Buzz bands were a thing when print publication was still print publication and wasn't just gone into online. And in the UK, especially with Q, Mojo, Enemy, those are sort of the British publications. There was a band that was pretty much on everybody's radar in the UK, and that was the Arctic Monkeys. They were full of spunk and quite young, and Alex Turner was somebody that you would have watched out for as a songwriting force, because, you know, behind this there was just so much like energy, and like everything is running on all cylinders for this band at this time, and this was only their first album, and it captured the imaginations of pretty much anybody that listened to it, whether you liked it or not. It was ubiquitous around 2006. They followed up pretty quickly with another album. Then they went and they kind of changed the sound a little bit on Humbug, and just from there it just kind of, you know, they kept going, trying to change what they were doing. But, you know, I bet you could look good on the dance floor, like, you know, an amazing song. When the Sun Goes Down is probably my favourite of that. Yeah, Fake Tales of San Francisco. This is back to back, like a no filler album. I rinsed this when this came out, and I still put it on quite often. So now getting into probably my favourite band, actually ever, and that's Sonic Youth. And they put out Rather Ripped in 2006. And this album doesn't get spoken about in the same vein as stuff like Daydream Nation, Dirty, Sister, Goo, you know, the classics. But what they were able to do with this was kind of like condense their sound down to really, really palatable track lengths, which that they could do, but quite often they didn't want to. Like there are a lot of long songs on the earlier albums, and they're brilliant. Their long tracks are great. But on this, they were able to do something a little bit different with their form and kind of make it quite palatable for people who sort of weren't into like feedback sections of songs. You know, like there'd be lots of like a track like on 1998's Thousand Leaves Sunday, which is just a traditional kind of song with the verse, and then there's this bridge that goes for about a minute of just like utter chaos, and then they go back to the main riff. You know, And they're doing this a little bit, but it's pared down, and it's really, really cohesive album. Rena's pretty good. That's the opening track. Incinerate, I think, should have been actually the opening track, because that would have been a really good introduction to this album. But nonetheless, you know, Do You Believe in Rapture, Jam's Run Free, Pink Steam. But I can't stand bonus tracks, but there's a bonus track called Helen Lundenberg, which is actually pretty good. If it wasn't meant to be on the album, don't put a bonus track on there. I've never understood why that was the thing, but they did that. Sonic Youth, have a look at that. That's quite good. And we have the second Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and again, this was a buzz band around that time, but on the other side of the world. So Yeah Yeah Yeahs were sort of around the same time as the Strokes, Rapture, stuff like that, White Stripes, and they were a huge buzz band. Fever to Tell was a phenomenal album that had so many good songs on it as their first album, and it had Maps, which, you know, sort of like 20 years later would have a second coming on TikTok, because, you know, it was used in a lot of TikToks. But when they put their second album out, I got it on day release. It's got Gold Lion, Way Out, Mysteries, Warriors. Turn Into is probably the best song, and I don't know, like the closing track of the album, it's just perfect. Like everything about it. There's a lot of inside. Everything about it is great. Another one I rinsed back then. So getting into the last couple, and these are the ones I listen to the most, I think. They've had a huge influence on just my music listening. And the first one is 9 by Damien Rice. Now, Damien Rice, as much as I love the first couple of albums, I consider that the rest of his catalogue has never been able to live up to this particular moment. And, you know, that's just my opinion, and many other people might think that he's done stuff that surpassed this, but it's my general view that he's never been able to get as much of a hold on his songwriting craft as he did on this. Because every track on here has lyrics that when you listen to it, you're kind of sitting down and you're just going, oh. It's quite insane, because like I don't sort of do that with lyrics too much, like, but you've got 9 Crimes, which is the opening track. That's amazing. Animals Are Gone, Rootless Tree, Dogs. And then it gets really good in the second half, because there's a song called Me, My Yoke and I, which only has sort of about 6 or 7 lines in it, where he just kind of says, my drum, my drum, my drum gonna make ya, my drum gonna make, and he goes, my book gonna make ya, and what he is able to do with it, it's quite interesting, because he starts quite low, and then he keeps going up, repeating these sort of different variations of this line, and it just comes to this like huge finale, and it's like really genius songwriting, in how minimalist the lyrics are, but like how much of an impact it can make. It's just absolutely brilliant. And Accidental Babies, I mean, you can kind of conjure up what that song could be about, but yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Damien Rice 9, have a look at that. If you like folk, it's folk music. Me, My Yoke and I is probably the most like rock sounding track on this. The rest of it is very, very folk, but yeah, great album. The last two, so I've shouted the name of this band from the rooftops for a long, long time, and it seems to be that there are people that know about them that are also doing the same thing, except, you know, yelling out about a band on a social media channel, it is kind of like yelling into the void. So what it means is that bands like this can't really get the recognition they deserve, and they're severely underrated. So this is a band called Blue Bottle Kiss, and this is a phenomenal band. So if you are a fan of like sort of noise rock, like Sonic Youth, if you like Built to Spill, Smog, you know, like Bill Callahan sort of stuff, Dinosaur Jr., if you like that sort of stuff with an Australian flavour to it, you should definitely check this band out, anything that they've done. But this came out in '06, and it was a double album called Doubt Seeds. And they put this album out, they toured it, I saw them on that tour, and it was absolutely brilliant. And then they broke up after this. They've since reformed to do like anniversary editions for some of their albums. They don't come to Perth that often, but whenever they do, I go and see them. And I saw them a couple of years ago now at the Milk Bar, and it was just transcendental. The main songwriter, Jamie Hutchings, is just such a phenomenal songwriter and guitar player. The whole band are great, but this has got tracks like Your Mirror's a Vulture, Sheffield Brides, Sailor's Knot. On the second disc, it starts with this track called Dream Order. It just starts in this like flurry of noise and just like builds into this like terribly cerebral, amazing song. I have listened to this probably the most out of any of these other albums from that, but it's not the best. The best one is next, and another band that's probably similar in sound to this. So in, I want to say 2007, maybe before that. Not too sure. Might have been the year this came out. But anyway, I went to see a band that my friend really likes called Yo La Tengo, and I never heard of them. And they played at the Amplifier Bar in Perth, and they started at, I think they got on stage about 8:45, and then I think they finished about 11:45. It was like a 3-hour set, and I've never ever heard a band that in sync, but also just so versatile as a group. Just hopping from genre to genre, and they were able to do this. It's like a mixture of, if you took like the Velvet Underground, Slow Dive, Stereolab, Sonic Youth, Belle and Sebastian, Black Sabbath, The Cure, Joy Division, and you just put them all in a blender, you get Yo La Tengo. And this album is called I'm Not Afraid of You and I Will Beat Your ASS. Now, they were touring behind this album, and I got this album after I went to the gig, because I was like, I need to get this album, and I got plenty of their other albums in here too. And it's unbelievable how they just switch from one. So the first track is called Pass a Hatchet, I Think I'm Good Kind. It's like a 10-minute kraut rock epic song, like with great guitars, beanbag chair. Mr. Tough is like a funky Philly soul song or something. I don't even know how you describe it. The Story of Yo La Tengo again is just like another epic that's like finishes the record off in it's like a 12-minute track. But this band are phenomenal. Like, another band that's like pretty underappreciated that only some people really get. And there we go. I've actually forgotten one. So in 2006, this album came out, and it's called Donuts by Jay Dilla. Now, I've got the Vinyl Me Please edition here, and it's great. You know, it's so good. It's got, you know, like the inside. See the inside there. You know, it's got like the coloured records and all that sort of stuff. It's clear. The other one. Let's get the yellow one out. You know, it is one of the best instrumental hip hop albums ever. Like absolutely astonishing what he was able to do. He was in bad health when he made it. He was like in the hospital, like chopping up samples and beats put together. But like, there is nothing about this that sounds quantitized in any way. It doesn't feel like it's been cut up and made. It's just absolutely brilliant. But 2006, what an interesting year. I'll go and do some more year in review videos soon. So hit up subscribe if you want to be notified about that, and I'll see you in the next one.